Hello everybody and welcome to GPVWC's kicking off season here at Albert Park, Melbourne for the 2014 Superleague Championship. We're here for 58 laps of high-octane pixelated action, and as ever, I'm never alone. My name is Simon Smith and I'll be dragging you kicking and screaming through 2014 whether you like it or not. Alongside me, as the last minute shuffle, I've got the pleasure to announce Lewis McGlade. Hello Lewis, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Obviously, having done the commentary last night and seeing what happens in Australia when you've got some very fast cars going around it. Now we've got the step up, the bit faster, the final part of the GPVWC show this, over this week, and I'm incredibly excited to see how it's going to turn out. Currently, we've got the qualifying session underway, and at the moment it's a CSG 1-2 with Lewis Redshaw leading, and this is kind of thing that I wasn't expecting coming into this. Seeing this kind of stuff, we've already, we've seen so much. Like, money is so important to this, and it looks like CSG have been playing their cards right with it.
Absolutely. After a practice session which left us completely in the dark, only 3 people at a time during the official 20-minute practice session that preceded this qualifying session, we was worried that people would enter this session a wee bit rusty, but at the moment, with 9 minutes left to go in the session, Lewis Redshaw is currently in provisional pole position with a 1:24.353 ahead of David Fidek. Then it's Toby Davis for Norge Zone in third, Nick Rowland, a last-minute deputy in the Midnight Motorsport in 4th position ahead of Ruud Heesterbeek for Nijo in 5, Lee Morris 6th for Kernau, Mindergaus Columbus making his return to GPVWC, if not his debut, for a completely new team, Target Racing. CSG, Target, and the one in 8th position, Kenny Liebeer for Vodball Racing. They are new to Super League as well. And it's great to see a nice full grid of 26 cars banting around this Albert Park circuit. And I'll be on sexy new livery watch as well, because there's plenty of new faces, colour schemes, and teams to get used to.
Yeah, I kind of like looking at a new year to see what all these cars have, the team owners have done to sort out the livery for the new car for the new season, to see just like how much they change. Sometimes you don't really realise it, immediately. You'll look at this year's car from last year and you kind of go, oh, it doesn't look that much different. But then you look at last year's car again, and it's kind of like, wow, it looks very, very different. And yeah, no, I always like looking at the liveries for the car. It's just a bit interesting. I see that Augustin Canapino's moved himself up into 4th position for the qualifying session at the moment. About a second off of pole, though. It's quite a spread-out qualifying session at the moment, with Redshaw up there by over half a second. One thing that I will point out is Rainieri. His only time has been a 1:29.6. He is way off at the moment. So I'm sure he'll be pushing himself up towards that higher spot. Obviously the Super Cup champion last year, and one of the favourites for it this year. A very, very quick driver, and in a very, very quick car as well.
Yep, it remains to be seen as to what's quick or not, as Nick Rowland is having troubles getting himself actually onto the grid at all at the moment. He has put in a decent time, so he is qualified at the moment. There is no 107% rule in this series, and it's just as well, I think, at the moment for poor old Ranieri, 5.3 seconds off the pace, but it's closing up at the front, so Redshaw now just 1/10 ahead of Fidek. Davis is the only person within a second of them in the Norge Zone for a 3-4, as Canapino and Hamnet nearly clash in the pits as they go into their garages. Then it's Heesterbeek just a further 10th back ahead of Morris. Columbus then half a second further back ahead of Tom van der Voort, who was hoping that Nijo would be able to hit the ground running, and they're looking like a top 10 team, but still a second off, as Grego Baldi goes into 3rd for Hawkeye, and that's his first time under a second from the pole sitter, and his teammate Hamnet follows him right through in 13th position, but a second off his teammate.
Yeah, now Gergo, I've seen races there goes Giuseppe Ranieri up into 3rd position, half second off. Yes, go.
Sorry, if I just dive in, Kieran Ryan's lost a front left wheel in the Phoenix F1 car, and that, I believe, was coming out of turn 4, and he's got the same problems as what we have in our leagues. If you escape out from the session, that's you over with. So he's got to drag that 3 wheels on my wagon all the way home, and Sumala there getting a wee bit out of the way in the very last second. He needs to be careful around these fast corners.
Indeed. Also, as I'm just looking at Giuseppe Ranieri, has gone about a tenth faster in the first sector than Redshaw does, but he's got Jordan Weeks' traffic up ahead and Morten Wernerson. Weeks gets out of the way. So, this is looking like a really, really good lap at the moment from Giuseppe Ranieri. Can he put this all together and put himself on pole position for the first round of the season?
He's already moved himself
up now. Oh, 2000's down even, actually, now. 2000's down at the second sector split. It's going to be close.
Like it will be. He's already moved himself up to third position from last with his previous lap, 4 tenths down. As who is that moving up? Columbus going to 9th position, splitting the Nijos. And currently it's CSG, Midnight, Kernow, Hawkeye, Nordzo, Nijo, Target, Nijo. So Ranieri bumbling into the pits, so clearly not wanting to go on one that time round.
Yeah, he made a mistake coming out the final couple of corners. It's easy just to pop into the pits and fit yourself up with some fresh tyres and have another go.
Tommy Kovanen over a second off the rest of the field, down in 25th. Still yet to set a time. Calvin Hermsey for ST Racing and Nick Rowland for Midnight. Although Rowland is out on track, Hermsey binned it in his practice laps, and we know that Rowland's having problems just getting the game to go at all. So we'll soon see what happens as Jim Paresis nearly bins it in the Torrent in 11th position currently.
Yeah, this is not kind of what I expected with CSG on pole. Obviously a new team for Super League this year. When you think of it, they've moved up from Super Cup, obviously a tried and tested team run by some people who know what they're doing. And yeah, no, it's still a surprise though that they've got a 1-2 at the moment. I kind of think that Giuseppe Ranieri, he's got that time in him to spoil the day, but he's made a mistake. I think he's on the outlap though.
He's to be moving into 4th position in the Nijo, just whilst you were chatting there. He's the 4th person to get within a second of Red Shaw. Just talking about the actual upgrades, the way how Super League works is that there's a hidden management system that goes on behind the scenes whilst this league, it's its unique property in a way, as Paresis goes into 5th for Torrent, knocking Morris down to 6th. And so the management are busy buying upgrades behind the scenes, and there's this whole budgeting system going on. And it does look as though CSG, I believe, have the best car in terms of actual upgrades, as I can see a green stripes front wing laying on the track at the far chicane, so someone's had a drama.
Yeah. As you said earlier, when you lose a front wing or anything like that, you have to bring it back to the pits. There's no escaping out on track. You have to bring it back into the pits, into the zone where you put on the speed limit and stuff like that, to escape back to your garage. Because that's just the way GPVWC works. It's one of the rules. If you don't do that, you get a 5-place grid penalty. We've already seen Jono Holmes in the Formula Challenge. He's going to slap with a 5-place grid penalty in the next round. Manuel Gaxella, another one who's going to be slapped with a 5-place grid penalty. Here though, I've not seen anyone do it. So here we go. We're stepping it up a bit in Super League.
Roland's into the pits, so he's really got to have one quick run at it very quickly in the pits if he's to actually get out and set a time at all. It looks as if Calvin Hermsey is not going to set a time at all. I wonder if he's binned it on his outlap and had to escape at all. But currently at the top of the field it is Red Shaw now, 3 tenths clear of Fiduk. He's improved his time to 1:24.120 ahead of Fiduk. Then it's Ranieri 6 tenths back in 3rd, currently on a hot one. Easter Peaks into the pits, that's pretty much his day done unless he can get back out again quickly. Paresis 5, Morris in 6th, and Paresis actually doing it in... Oh no, he's just left the game, but he was doing a pit stop then. Then it's Davis, Canapino, Baldy and Clumbish, your top 10, with Vandervoort just outside. Currently the top 24 drivers separated by 3 seconds exactly. It's looking like a nice and tight-knit field. But what can Fiduk and Ranieri do about Lewis Redshaw on that pole position time? Fiduk coming out of the final corner right now. What can he do? Because this is a hot lap. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to knock anyone off the top spot. Ranieri following him across the line in 3rd position. Is he going to be challenging? Ooh, temp faster, but still half a second off.
Yeah, this is a really, really spread out qualifying session at the moment. I've just been told also that the ST of Calvin Hamster is not going out and qualifying for strategical reasons. Not really sure what they would be, but nevertheless. But
too scared
to
go out
at the moment. Here we go then. But I would be interested to see that if Redshaw can get his first pole position of the year, or the first round of the year, and his second pole position in Super League today.
Sam Miller's binned it down at the start of Sector 3. He's got no front wing in that Kernow Sports, which that livery reminds me of Licorice All Sorts. If anyone thinks of that. But yes, he's popping into the pits. That's the end of his day. Last gasp efforts then for everyone. Redshaw, Fidek, Ranieri and Heasterbeek are all out, and Heasterbeek's timed it to perfection. He's going to cross the line to start a hot lap with 10 seconds to go. And it looks like we're just going to be reeling them off as they cross the line.
Indeed,
so who's that moving up? Lee Morris goes into fourth position. Yeah, good run.
Good shout. I see that Fidek's dropped his lap. He's just going to come back into the pit lane and call it quits for today. He's done a good job to put it into second. Redshaw's coming around turn 14 at the moment, the last part of the sector, see if he can improve his time. Not really too sure if he can, but still. And Giuseppe Ranieri crosses the line, he's done. That's no pole position for Giuseppe Ranieri.
This could be a good one for Redshaw.
Up to 6th, I think that was. Oh no, it's going to go Bowley up to 7th.
Yep. The old Hawkeye. So Redshaw crosses the line, just the last couple of drivers getting themselves over, and it looks as if it's a done deal then for Lewis Redshaw, who's going to take a 1-2 on their debut in Super League for CSG. Lewis Redshaw then, pole position of 124.120 ahead of David Fidek. Giuseppe Ranieri, the only one to really run them close in quali, 3rd position. Then it's a gap back to Lee Morris in 4, who still looks like he's out trying to do a lap, but I think he's run out of time for that. Ruud Heasterbeek goes 5th, Paresis to 6th, Grego Bowdy to 7. Toby Davis is going to be in 8th position. I think he was too late to set a new time. Augustin Canapino, last minute gasp to 9, and Tom Vandervoort gets into 10th position. Nick Rowland did manage a time to get 11th for Simcraft Midnight Motorsport. Ahead of Mindergaus Columbus, new team for Target. That's a good start for them for 12th, with teammate Jordan Weeks in 14th, sandwiching the stand-in for Torrent Motorsports, a story we've not covered yet, Georgios Manusakis, and he is replacing Peter Kaza, who is injured.
Oh, Toby Davis improves, 4th position.
Ooh.
Okie dokie.
That's good stuff there from Toby to get in the nick of time. Of course, he is relatively new to this open wheeler. We know him from the ITC world. Now he's joining our open wheeling ranks and certainly putting himself right in there. Harley Hamnet, 15th for Hawkeye, ahead of the Vodball, which is the other new team. Kenny Lybeer, 16, Morton Vernonton, 18, and Danny Asbury in the Woods Racing in 17th in the middle. And Woods there, I think, will be slightly disappointed with their performance today. The Phoenix is not doing bad. Boyd Bryson 19th, Kieran Ryan 21st, again sandwiching another poor person, and that's new by Davidus Miziulsis, sorry, for Red Archer VRT. Mikhail Tumala's 23rd, behind Roy Schroten in the second Woods. Tommy Hagan is a new guy in the other Red Archer, replacing David Junt. Sam Miller in at Kernow 25, and Tommy Covenant 26th, with just Calvin Hermsey in the ST 27th position, and there is one guy missing. It must be the other ST, isn't it? Yeah. So ST, really strapped for cash, didn't go out in quali due to fuel, I would imagine, because fuel is very expensive this year, so that's why everyone's managing themselves particularly well. So what did you think of that one, Lewis?
I think most of all that was a surprise, really. I remember looking on the forums a couple of days ago. You've got this prediction game as to who do you think is going to be where when it comes to the race and things like that. And the one thing that I couldn't wrap my head around was I kept going on there, and there was always the number of Redshaw's cars. I think it's like 24 and 25. That was they were always Lewis and David. They were always quite high on this list. And I was thinking, this is coming from people like even Nick. Nick put them pretty high. I think even Giuseppe put them quite high as well. And all I kept thinking was, what has CSG done that's that impressive? And we're sitting here, first qualifying session of the year, and it's a front row lockout for CSG, the new team for Super League, one of the new teams for Super League this year. It's just an incredible feat for them, and good job. Obviously, the points are in the race and everything like that, and that's what we've got to look out for and see who's got the best strategy. But it's a good qualifying session for CSG and quite a nice one to start off the season.
So just moving into the warm-up session. which is just a quick 5 minutes whilst everyone gets themselves all sorted out and ready. 58 laps as ever. We are running RFE, which gives us dynamic weather through the race. If you're new to GPVWC, you can also interact with us on the hashtag GPVWC over on Twitter, or you can tweet myself at Saturamon. Lewis, what are you these days?
At the Gamesaurus, but I rarely check it because I'm not a social person.
No. Less said about that one, the better. Not social. He will not chat to you. He blanked me in a corridor once. I'm still sad panda to these days. But yeah, that was been interesting for me because this year has been quite interesting for the new teams to come in, and it's been the most levelish playing field that new teams have had for quite some years for GPVWC. And a lot of people were saying, do you know what, CSG, Target, Vodball, they have chance to actually get in at mid-base level and work their way up. And all three new teams actually doing very well, with Targets in the top 15, both Vodballs solidly in the top 20 as well. And I think it gives people like ST and Phoenix, who joined last year, I believe, definitely ST, a kind of wake-up call, as if to go, oh, do you know what, we can't afford to trundle around at the back in quite the state that we are, especially with ST, because they've spent all of their money and they couldn't even go out in qualification. How faulty forward is that?
Yeah, it's just the way that Super League, is running these days. When it's money is a hard thing. You've got to spend it wisely. Any money you can save, is beneficial to you. I mean, you looked at the CSG in the pre-season tests; they were going very slowly everywhere. It just looked like that CSG were trying to save their money, and look at how much it's paid off. With a 1-2 in the first round, and it's just money is so very important this season, and it will be. You'll see this across the whole season, is that money will be one of the most important things, and the teams have to spend it right. Those who won't will be lining up at the back of the grid consistently every single round.
And that's the importance of the OWL management strategy side of this Super League itself. If you're not interested in the whole strategy side of things, then you are more than welcome to come and join us down in the lower ranks where Lewis and myself race in Super Cup and Super League, or if you just fancy a good old kickabout, there's Open Season as well, which is not the animated film, as I instantly want to see in my head just animals spinning round the Albert Park circuit on wheels, which in turn would be quite a good feat to have, to be fair, but
we'd have to broadcast that though, because that would just be pretty hilarious.
Yes, it reminds me of, have you ever played that mod for R Factor, which is the game that we're running, everyone, in case you didn't know, Le Mans, where it's actually
I have seen this, yes. I haven't actually played with it, but I've seen it.
I'll tell you what, it makes a whole new punt on saying I've just squeezed you down into turn one.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow. That's pretty impressive.
Wow.
Mm.
Is that going out on the broadcast, by the way, Si? Okay, I didn't think so. So, sorry about that. We're just having a bit of a chat back and forth. Just a quick recap there for, as they're just getting ready to go to the grid, and we'll run through that again in a second, for the Torrent Motorsports stand-in driver for today, because obviously Petter's not with us today, and we don't know when he'll be back actually, but good luck to you, Petter. The driver who is in the car at the moment, who I can't see actually, where's he gone?
He's P11.
There he is. Oh, it's because I've got him highlighted, so my eyes were instantly going over him. Georgios Manusakis drove for Torrent Motorsport back in 2011 in the old Formula Challenged, and then after his first race,
Attention grid, will all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
Get off the grid, everyone. He decided, well, he didn't decide, but he had a heart attack, and has spent a little bit of time in recovery, and it's great to see someone go through, we don't want to see anyone go through pain and drama, but he's come out the other side of it and is doing a mighty fine job now at the echelon of GPVWC, so best of luck to him, and best of luck to all the drivers and teams out there today. 58 laps. It's going to be a hard one. Any predictions from you, Lewis, before we go to the grid?
I wouldn't know because I couldn't even predict qualifying. I didn't expect CSG to be taking pole and the win, pole and a front row lockout. So whether they can take a win today is I don't know. I've seen Giuseppe race a lot, and he is good in the races. So we'll have to wait and see. I will put money on Giuseppe Ranieri winning though.
Well, I tell you one thing, those skies look a lot darker than what they did in qualifying, so that'll be an interesting part to play in this dance. So the grid as they wander around then. CSG are done a 1-2 lockout on their debut for Super League. It's all a bit Brawn GP, although they do look like they're a Memphis team. Lewis Redshaw ahead of David Fidek. Then in third position, it's McGlade Plugins Fancy, Giuseppe Ranieri for Midnight Motorsport. I'm proud, as we saw you earlier. Toby Davis, fourth position for Nordzone. I do like that livery actually. Lee Morris in fifth position for the Kernow team, ahead of Ruud Heesterbeek in sixth, and I love the colour of that green Nijo. Seventh, Jim Parisis in the Torrent Motorsports. That will take getting used to. I'm so used to a certain type of livery of them. Hawkeye in eighth position for Grego Bordy. Or Gergo Bordy, sorry, not Grego. Augustin Canapino in 9 for Nordzone, Tom Vandervoort in 10 for Nijo. Nick Rowland 11 for Midnight Motorsport. Didn't expect to see one of those outside the top 10, but we didn't expect to see Nicky in the car, so good luck Nick. Mindagaus Columbus in 12th for Target Racing, and rounding out the top half of the grid is Gregos Manusakis for Torrent Motorsports.
Yeah, then you've got Jordan Weeks in 14th, Harley Hamnet for the second Hawkeye in 15th. Kenny Lee Bear is down in 16th position. That's okay in Vodball in their brand new car. Danny Asbury, 17th position. Been talking to him quite a bit before the race. He's Woods' new driver, filling in for what would be Oscar Hardwick, but we're not allowed to go into that. Morten Verneson is in 18th, the other Vodball. You got Boyd Bryson in 19th. Masulius is in 20th, and you've got Kieran Ryan in 21st, Roy Schroen in 22nd, Mikhail Chumala in 23rd, Tommy Hagen 24th, Lee Morris's teammate down in 25th positions. They're all really stacking up down there, coming up to the penultimate corner. Tommy Koivunen. Then it's Calvin Hermser and Sven de Vries for ST Racing. I didn't expect to see him on the grid, and nevertheless he is lining up in 29th position.
Well, he didn't take part in quali. He was about in the practice session at the beginning. There was contact there between Koivunen and Herms. So, and Koivunen spun it into the pit wall. He's done a Montoya. He's done it better than anything else. He's quickly escaped back out again. That's not good for the green stripes. He's taking the grid there. So,
yeah, Toby pointing massively.
Oh, he is. He's well out of place. And there's an ST that hasn't appeared to get himself into the right place, so it's all gone a bit wrong. Now come the lights though. CSG versus the rest. Who's going to do it? Down into turn 1. 2014 GPVWC is away. Well done. Great start there by Ranieri. There's a good start by both Nijos as well. There's contact and wheels going towards the back though, as Redshaw takes the lead from Ranieri. Fidek goes down to third, then it's Heesterbeek and Vandervoort. Davis down to sixth, and the problems towards the back. Kieran Ryan is in the wall for Phoenix. Sam Miller, Manusakis as well, but there was wheels going
Toby's
before
off,
they
Toby
got
Davis
down
off.
anywhere.
Toby Davis is off at turn 3. He's dropping down the order now. He just went a little bit wide, it seemed, and just slid off the track. That means Gogabaldi's up into 5th position. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Heesterbeek down to 24th, just rejoining ahead of Hermsey and Miller. But yeah, real dramas there. 2 separate accidents. One on the way down to turn 1, one in turn 1, and then another down at turn 3. But Redshaw still leads from Ranieri, who's split the CSGs, and that's important for him.
Yeah, he's just got to keep on the back of Redshaw. Long race is this one, and just keep it there.
Red Archer's doing a pincer move on Jim Parisis down in 15th position, and that allowed Misulis to get through up into 14th for the time being. There's more changes going on as Tumala gets around Bryson for 18th and 19th as the Phoenix F1 driver drops further down the field. And there's more contact as Manusakis smacks the back of Roy Schroten. Schroten's lost his front wing, as has Manusakis, as has Sven de Vries, as they all piled into the back of each other, as Toby Davis takes Bryson for 19th position as he tries to reascend back up the order. But at the end of round 1, or lap 1 rather, not round 1, it's Redshaw leading from Ranieri, Fidek, Vandervoort. Superb start there from 10th to 4th. Then it's Baldi, Morris, Rowland, Weeks, Canapino and Columbus your top 10.
Yeah, I think I remember Harley Hamnet started quite a way outside the point scoring position, now currently running 11th position ahead of Danny Asbury, who's also started outside of those points and has moved up into them thanks to some of the the first couple of corners instance, and Kieran Ryan is already out of the race. I see Sven de Vries in the pit lane, Roy Schroten also in the pit lane. I'm not sure who else I see back there. It's one of the Torrents.
Manusakis.
Yeah, that's Manusakis down in the pit lane as well. So not a good start to the season for some of the boys, but half a second is the lead that Lewis Redshaw has over Giuseppe Ranieri, and he's looking like he's just pulling it out a bit.
Lee Morris taking a little look at Boldy over 5th and 6th position. We'll keep a beady eye on that one. More changes going on. Danny Asbury is into 12th position ahead of Morten Vernonson. Woods versus Rod Bull, and Paresis has got past both the Red Archers and is now attacking Vernonson down the outside if he can. Does the old switch chopperoo, but Vernonson saw that one coming. Morton's had a few races at the end of last year as Toby Davis goes round the outside of Liberia for 18th and 19th, and Paresis now takes Vernonson as well. So all kicking off as some of the front runners try to pick their way back through the pieces of action that happened beforehand, but that's going to provide us plenty of entertainment as they get up the field. Big old train behind Tom Vandervoort, and Morris smacks the wall just behind them.
Yeah, you'll see quite a lot of them, obviously, with the way GPVWC rules work, where the curb is counted as track limit. As long as you keep 2 wheels on the curb, then you're within, you're fine. And so you'll see a lot of drivers going all the way out to that wall just to get the maximum run out of the final turn and the best advantage down that straight, and especially when you're trying to attack a position, then that's what you want to do. I've also noticed that Nick Rowland is starting to join the back of this train, so it's a good start from 11th from him, especially considering he kind of came in last moment. Nick should be in this seat, however he's driving one very quickly around Albert Park and he's doing a good job of it so far.
Definitely. Paresis got past Asbury down towards turn 1 at the start of lap 3 of 58. And the other change that I saw going on was, I don't know, but it's gone from my eyes now. But yes, big old train going on behind Tom Vandervoort, and he'll be delighted to be in 4th in that Nijo because it looked like it wasn't quite up with the top lot. But Boldy, Morris, Roland joining on the backs. Weeks and Canapino's having a go, and that looks like Boldy trying to go down the outside of Vandervoort down into turn 13, but not quite doing there. Tom saw that one coming, and it's quite easy to overdo that corner and just go streaming off straight into the gravel on the outside, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing that we saw quite a lot in Super Cup yesterday, that a lot of the drivers were going for moves on the outside of turns, particularly turn 3. I think we saw an awful lot, and previous events that I've seen at this track, you've got turn 13, the inside of it is a particularly good overtaking move if you've got a good driver for 12, but the problem with both of those moves is that they're very, very easy to get wrong. You know, both of them can go wrong for both drivers, and especially if you're attacking on the outside, you know, you could be pushed off the track, anything. So you've got to know exactly what's going on. I will say CSG and the Midnight of Giuseppe Ranieri kind of running away from the front of Vandervoort as he's under attack from Gogo Baldi.
He is, and also just behind them, Jordan Weeks is doing a fine bit of defending action on Augustin Canapino. They were side by side through 15 and 16 last lap, and then Weeks managed to keep his nose ahead coming out of turn 1 and 2. And behind them, Harley Hamnet takes 11th position back from Jim Paresis, who had swiped it earlier on in the lap. So plenty of action going on up and down the field as Vandervoort keeps his bottle cap on Boldy. Boldy's got another little run on him.
Oh, Jim on the outside. Oh, yeah, Jim on the outside. And then inside of 11 and 12. But no, doesn't work. Wow. That was scary. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Hold on to your knickers. They're going to get skiddy. But, yes, Tom Vandervoort keeps ahead of Boldy. Paresis stays behind Hamnet. And Weeks keeps ahead of Canapino. But Canapino right on the back of him. As is Boldy looking closer than he has done before down into turn 1, but it's very, very difficult to deal with things as Giuseppe Ranieri does the fastest lap of the race. Still only Kieran Ryan, yes, sole retirement, 27 in the race.
Yeah, it looks like Ranieri is really trying to push to get himself towards the lead of this race, and you know, we saw him win an awful lot in Super Cup last year. And this field looking very, very strong. But what have you seen?
It is Harley Hamnet trying to muscle his way back into 11th position, and he's done it. Oh no, he has. Yes, he has. Paresis took him down into turn 1 beautifully. Hamnet just went straight into the slipstream, went round the outside of turn 3 to have the inside for 4. So great stuff there by Harley. Often criticised for a little bit of wheel bashing last year, but that was nice and cleanly done. And you couldn't have had fairer from either driver. Plenty of good respect on the road. A lot of smoke down from Boyd Bryson. Kenny Liberia, who's dropped back to 20th position. as Heasterbeek takes Tumala for 18th.
Yeah, I've also noticed that early incident with Heasterbeek and Toby Davis. Toby is just on the outside of the points. Oh, Baldy.
Yep. Tom is back through as Baldy goes back. Nope, down to 5th position. He had him out of 13 into 14. Sorry to jump over you, Lewis, but
that's fine.
I was getting far too excited for my own panties. And across the line, Baldy now looks like he's going to have another go down into turn 1. They're dropping away 7 seconds off the leader. That's going to be committed. Oh my goodness me.
Baldy's going to have a run.
He's going to suffer because look at Morris coming from behind, and he's going to really stalk Baldy down into turn 3. But he decides to actually pull back and think, do you know what, that looked like a problem in waiting, and I'll have a go later on in the lap, because Tom looks like he's struggling for grip as there was contact there between Baldy and Vandervoort.
I've also noticed that Toby Davis has been into the pit lane and is down in 22nd position at the moment, so I think he may have had damage with that car as he's tried to move himself back into the points. And also the gap for the lead, last tap I saw it was half a second. It's expanded a tenth in the first sector, but Giuseppe Radio trying to pull that one back.
Absolutely. So Redshaw still leads from Ranieri, Fiduk. Then this battle that we're watching now, Tom Vandervoort, Gergo Baldy. It'll be Gregor for the rest of the season. Lee Morris is in 6th. Roland stalking them all in 7th. Doing a mighty fine job for a last-minute sub. Then Canapino and Weeks still battling over 8th and 9th. And Canapino's going to have another go at Jordan. Jordan goes massively defending for 8th position. Canapino this time not quite got the testes to go round the outside. He's going to take a little swap back. But Target, both drivers in the top 10, they will be more than delighted with that, with Columbus closing them down. Ooh, Canapino, do not stick it down there, mate, because that was only going to get a chop.
Yeah. Oh, there's a bit of... Yeah, I don't think Jordan's happy with that at all. But
he's a very flamboyant driver, is Jordan, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I saw Canapino drive a lot of Super Cup last year. He was impressively fast, but I don't know. That was a bit of a scary dive bomb there. And if I was Jordan, I wouldn't have been happy with that either.
Ruud Heasterbeek's taken Tommy Hagen for the final points-paying position in 15th, so that does put Ruud back in for Nijo, and. Morten Vernonson's been into the pits as well for Vodball Racing, and he's rejoined in last position currently. As what is going on with Baldy? It looks like he's having half a go.
Just about to look back at that, and they were pretty close, but I think Gogo's just taken his time. I've seen this guy race quite a lot elsewhere, not open wheels for a while, but I've seen him race quite a bit elsewhere, and he's a good. I've seen him in FSR a long time ago, but most recently he was driving for THR in some TBS leagues. But so 7th World Championship in FSR, right? So this guy's good. He's a good shout, and just trying to push himself onto the podium or onto 4th position, and hopefully to catapult himself towards the podium. We'll go.
Heasterbeek just takes 14th position from Misulis, just off your screens, whilst that's going on in the battle for 4th position. And Columbus and Jim Parisis are about to join on the Weeks and Canapino battle as well, because you do lose time hand over fist, especially around a circuit like this where there are several big stop-starts at Albert Park, and so if you're always Weeks nearly loses it out of turn 3 there, does well to hold it, but that's not going to help your tyres, and because there is so much stopping starting, when you're battling you really lose out. Same with the battle for 23rd with Coven and Schroeton and
Weeks off,
Manusakis.
Canapino through, and Columbus is through as well. I think Greece is as well. Yep. Weeks losing out quite a bit there, down to 11th position.
2 places in one corner, never a good move.
Yeah, no, that wasn't pretty, unfortunately. Yeah, that is one thing that we've been talking about the grass. You see this a lot. I think Sven de Vries did it in Super Cup last night at the second to last turn. The grass here, because it's you can touch it very, very easily, and it will just pull the car straight off the circuit. No problems. Sometimes we've driven at tracks where grass is kind of like you can touch it and be okay. You could use the grass as a slight bit of runoff, and you'll be fine. Here it's really slippery. You will be dragged into a wall.
Tell you what, Lee Morrison dragged himself into Gregor Baldy's rear wing because of the state of how they were getting around turn 13. last lap round. Amazingly, they then didn't have a stab at each other down into turn 1 or turn 3 for that matter, but Baldy is starting to look a little bit impatient trying to get around Tom van der Voort, who's doing a mighty fine defending job. And that is, who was that changing? That's Paresis up to 9th past Columbus down into turn 3, so he's up to 8th, and that is
Harley Hamnet missing front wing, yeah. Down to 13th position. Don't know what happened there, let's have a look.
Well, he's lost it before he's even got to turn 1, so I assume that he's lost it out of the final turn. But that is real problems there for Harley, and we was just praising the maturity of him earlier on, and sadly that maturity has got him a little bit spanked into the wall.
Yeah, just a little bit of a run out of the final turn and spinning into the pit wall a little bit, which is a shame for him because that's probably the most awkward place you could do because you've got to drive an entire lap with no front wing back to the pit lane. It's good if you didn't have a puncture as well because they are evil.
That is indeed problematical, and that puts both Red Archers then back into the points, which is good for them, as that was someone looking a bit rough out of turn 15. I think it was Van der Voort actually, because he's starting to lock up his tyres a little bit more than what he was a couple of laps ago. Don't know if pressure's really sinking in. It's not sinking in for Redshaw at the moment. He's still 7 tenths clear of Ranieri. Fiduk's 2.5 seconds further back, stalking them but not really pressing them. And he's dropping just a couple of tenths each lap round. Lap 10 of 58 we are on. Starting to come up to pit stop territory if you're on a 3-stopper quite soon. Then you've got Tom van der Voort, Gregor Baldi, Lee Morris and Nick Rowland in their battle for 4 to 7. Canapino's in 8. Paresis is in 9. Columbus and Weeks battling over 10 and 11. Don't take yourselves off, guys. You're in the same team together. Danny Asbury's 11 for Woods, ahead of Ruud Heesterbeek. Then it's the Red Archers of Missilis and Hagen. Then just outside the points, it's Tumala 16, Bryson 17, Lybeer 18, Miller in 19th position, ahead of Harley Hamnet, who's currently in the pits. But he'll get out ahead of Calvin Herms, Roy Schroten, Manu Sakis, Kovanen, De Vries and Vernonson, with Davis and Ryan out with suspension and accident damage.
Yep, still got a long way to go. We're on the 10th lap of 58, and from what we've just been told, yeah, Toby Davis out of the race. That's not very good for Toby Davis, especially considering he was he looked like he was feeling pretty good. I was speaking to him a couple of days ago. He seemed like he was okay and he was ready for this, and you know, it's just a shame to see him out this early.
Oh, I think he well, he did roll his car, but at least he rolled up with the high runners early on, and I think that's a shot of warning to the rest of the field to say, look out, Nord Jones about, especially with Canapino still doing very well in 8th position in that rather funky looking livery. Talking of livery watch, the targets remind me of the Renault cars. Redshaw and CSG remind me of Memphis Sweets. Midnight is about one of the few cars that look the same as last year. Same with Hawkeye, as Baldy continues to stalk Van der Voort. And what was the other one that made me laugh as well? I think it reminded me of Brawn, but I can't remember it now.
I quite like some of the liveries on the train movement.
That's it. Yes.
Yes.
The Phoenix looks like the BAR and then early Hondas, 2006.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it does. From what I've got of the Volvo at the moment, it doesn't look that good. It doesn't look that bad even. God, wow. You're not allowed to say that.
Harsh. Harsh.
No, I don't know. I don't know why. I was going to say it looks good, and I said looks that bad. Oh, I didn't mean that. I mean it looks good. I like it.
You're not testing for those that team, are you either?
No, I drove for them at the Masters, but I've not confident since.
Heesterbeek takes Danny Asbury for 12th and 13th position. Asbury kind of half giving up there. That was a bit of a weird one. But Ruud up to 12th place in the second of the Nijos, and Van der Voort still ahead. But Rowland is ahead of Morris. What's happened to Lee Morris? He's dropped behind Nick Rowland somewhere along the line, and that looks like it happened. That looks like he lagged out for a few seconds. Yeah, game froze down the main straight, and all of a sudden he just rejoins back behind Nick Rowland. So terrible luck there for Morris. And, well, shame.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lee does like his own stream, something like that. And when you're overpowering your computer like that, it sometimes can cause you to freeze up a bit. I remember I do because obviously I do my own videos in the ITC, and that sometimes you can lock up, and it'll cost you positions that you then have to work very hard to get back.
17 and 18th position are crashing into each other. Libeer versus Bryson. That's 3 corners in a row where they've smacked wheels. And Libeer and Bryson continuing their scrap. I tell you what, there is no love lost there. That is bitter divorce written all over the track by the time they finished.
And Go goes off. Go goes off, yeah. What happened there?
Well, we look, having a go at Vandervoort, and then it lags out for me, and when he arrives, he's already in the beach. So, problems for Baldy. He's now in P11.
Yeah, P11.
But in trouble there, as Redshaw and Ranieri lap Covenant, and that's all worked out quite nicely for Covenant. For Ranieri, because he's closed up on Redshaw whilst they're lapping traffic.
Yeah, as we were just told, it looked like he just locked Redif and Spartan. I think we saw this actually with locking the rear brakes with Jesper Tolborg in the first race of Formula Challenge, leading from pole position down into turn 3, locks rear brakes and spins. Quite easy to do from what I've seen. I've driven a little bit of the Supercars. I've not really driven the Superleague, but the brakes just very, very easy to lock, especially when you're not running ABS or anything like that. So it's quite an easy thing to do. Tons
of torque on these cars, and I think sometimes you get the bite, and then it just kind of, once you're in that motion, it's very hard to then pull back and stop. So yeah, it makes it very, very difficult. As Manusakis taps the back of Schroten in 22nd position, round he goes, but he needs to get out of the way because the leaders are coming. Ooh, just about. Redshaw has to slightly feather on the throttle, and that again is going to play again into the hands of Ranieri. And we see this a few times, because when you're the first person coming round to lap everyone, you're like the wake-up call, and then people are a bit more aware of the people behind you, so you lose a bit more time compared to whoever is following you in second position, because you're the buffer that's pushing through. It makes it very difficult to stay out front.
Yeah, I mean, Giuseppe's in quite a nice position at the moment. You just sit in. As much as you go, oh, well, we could be in the lead. Could be in the lead. The lead doesn't matter at the moment. The lead only matters on the final lap of the race. That is when it matters. When they cross that finish line, that is when the lead matters. So Giuseppe can sit in second all he wants all this race, and as long as he's got the right strategy and knows what he's doing, then he will be able to move himself up into that lead before the end of the race. And he's keeping really close to the back of Redshaw, so it could happen.
Baldy's in the pits.
Not. Okay.
It could well happen. Well, Baldy's in the pits. He's rejoined in 15th position. That's the first scheduled stop that I've seen today, so that's worthwhile noting that he's first in, and that probably puts him on a 3-stopper. An almost battle for 23rd. I know this is wooden spoon territory, but the STs of Herms has been caught by Covenant.
Oh! That was scary.
That is a ride and a half going on as Tumala pits. He's the next man to go for it. Sven de Vries goes past his teammate. He will have a go at Covenant, and I'm sure he'll be through quite soon. Someone's missing something, and they've binned it at turn 16 because I see a wheel and a front wing on the track.
Yeah, it might have been Tumala. He was in the pits with a missing wheel, and he's in his box at the moment.
Oh, and it's Libeer with no front wing in 18th position as well. So I wonder if that was 2 separate accidents. Contact between the two. Libeer, sadly, may need a can of by the end of this race because it's not quite gone to plan. And who
Augustin Canapino into the pits.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, we're at the pit stop phase. I think mostly strategy-wise, you'll see people do either a 3 or a 2-stop race, and I know a couple of people that are doing 2s, but yeah, no, it's been a bit interesting so far. We've had a little bit of contact that is unnecessary between some people, but nevertheless, keep to it. We've got a long way until the end of the race, and a long season ahead of us indeed.
Canapino rejoins in 12th position, right ahead of the Red Archers, who have been nose to tail for a lot of the race there, Missilis and Hagen. 2 new drivers making their mark in 18. That will be a good season-long scrap to see who is exactly going to end up the best of the Red Archers by the end of it. And yes, one of the key things that has happened in terms of the mod for this year is that on the tyre wear front, the rear tyres are going away a little bit quicker than what they did last year. Last year was very much about the front tyres wearing quickly. Now it's a little bit slower, I've heard, or I've been told through the grapevine.
Oh, but Nick Rowland nearly goes into the back of Tom van der Voort. That made me jump. I'm really sorry.
That's okay. Go to the loo. Well, they've come up against Covenant and de Vries, who are in their own little scrap. And very early to be lapping people on lap 15, but these lot have all pitted as Kovanen gets well out of the way of the Van der Voort and Roland scrap. This is over 4th position. Lee Morris then punches through as well in 6th. Interestingly done. But yes, because the rear tyres are going away, but everything's a little bit more evenly, I wonder if that plays into exactly how people do their pit stop strategies.
Yeah, I mean, if it's got you kind of look at Super Cup, and there's some you can take some things from it. It's all about when you push. You know, if you're pushing at the start of a stint, then that's going to cost you later on. Your tyres are going to drop. That's just obvious. That's maths that you can just throw out there. Whereas if you're taking a breath, you're not fighting for a position. You're just running your own pace until you want to push. You know, in your car, and you are ready to push for that position, and that's all about Super League at the moment. You know, it's not like in Formula Challenge where it's just push the entire race and you'll be jolly. It's all about pushing at the right time, and that's what these guys. This is why these guys are at the top, because they know when to do it. You know, it's all about that strategy of when to push, and then when to pit, and how long to push for, and how many stops you're doing. Everything. You know, it's so much that these drivers are having to know before they can actually decide whether, can I make this move? Do I actually have the car and the tyres to do this? They've absolutely got to think it through every single time.
Kenny Nybeer making a meal of getting back out of the pits, rejoins 2 laps down in 26th position, and Roland really stalking the back of Tom van der Voort, and this is going to be holding them up time-wise. Boldy has got his first pit stop out of the way. He's just smacked into the pit wall though, coming out, the outside of turn 16. Somehow still has all his wings, which is quite interesting. As who's that in the pits? Oh, Weeks is big in the wall. Weeks is in the wall. He's pulling off. He got round Columbus the previous lap. He's retired
out of the race
with suspension failure, and he done a Nakajima. By the looks of it, out from turn 4, and that was because Kovanen had already spun in front of him, so we had nowhere to go. Bizarre incident there for poor Weeks.
So a shame, but yeah, that was just bad luck for Weeks, unfortunately. That means Denny Asprey's moved himself up into the top 10 in front of Augustin Canapino, and that's a really big shame for Jordan Weeks.
He's doing well because I'd actually seen the previous lap. Columbus had moved over for him to go through as Van der Voort pits, and that's going to release Morris and Roland, and it's now the time, as you were talking about pushing, that they need to push, and Morris couldn't have got a better time to catch onto the rear end of Nick Roland, and now they need to work together. Don't fight each other because you'll only lose time.
Yeah, I think quite a lot of people are going to be pitting at the end of this lap. Oh right, so a long pit stop for Van der Voort.
So Paris is about to join onto the back of that. 11.4, then a stop for Van der Voort. He rejoins.
I see Columbus is also in the pits.
Columbus rejoins behind Boldy. So Boldy, despite all of his dramas, getting back out ahead of the targets, but that will remove him from this battle that he was involved in for 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th. So it is going to be a Roland, Morris, Parisis and Van der Voort moment, and Van der Voort actually has got a nice clear track, so he needs to hammer it. As Ranieri pops in from 2nd position, and Bradshaw.
Yeah, which means David Fiddick's going to go on to lead in Super League. That's a nice thing to do on the first round. Bad at all.
Setting down your marker, but it's going to be pit stop versus pit stop. CSG versus Midnight Motorsports. Ranieri's already out of the garage. He's coming down the pit lane. Redshaw is still stationary. Ranieri's going to have the momentum. Side by side on the exit, and Ranieri's just ahead. Redshaw's put the foot down. Side by side, stay within the white lines, guys. And look at Lee Morris is going to be involved in the middle of that. Redshaw keeps out. Morris goes round the outside of Ranieri. That punches a hole between the two of them. Morris has enough of momentum down the straight. He may do something about Redshaw, but he's going to have to defend from Ranieri.
Morris!
No, Morris! Ranieri yoinks round the outside and back through. Lee will not be pleased with that, but that was on a wing and a prayer. He's speaking from what was 8th. Beautifully done.
Yeah, well, that was probably a moment for Giuseppe Ranieri thinking that, going to lose it here, but Lee Morris is going around the outside again. He's not got the momentum, I don't think. But He's going to have to go defensive. Is Pepe? No, it's all good. Oh, what are you saying?
Paresis has just passed Vandervoort into turn 3 for 6th and 7th position, and that's key because he was behind Morris and Roland, and they've all kind of done their... they're all going to be fine against Vandervoort in the pit stop phase, so that looks as like Tom is going to really lose out as Fidek's in.
Okie dokie. So Fidek's going to come in and lose his lead, but you know, I'm impressed that these lot have such a big gap over the rest of the field. You know, it's about 20 seconds I think they had. Last time I was looking at it, you know, with everyone legitimately on stops. I think Morris will be in this lap as well. He is indeed. Nick Rowland possibly. No, Nick's already pitted.
He's been in.
He's been in. Never mind.
But he has leapfrogged Paresis and Vandervoort as they lap Calvin Herms, who nearly takes off Vandervoort there. And actually, that has really not worked out well for Tom at all.
Okay, so Asbury will be in this lap, I think, as well. Let's have a look. And Asbury into the pits, yes. Indeed.
Roland stays well ahead of Morris, and it's going to be between him and Paresis down into turn 1, actually. And in fact, Paresis and Vandervoort, by not battling each other, stay ahead of Lee Morris, who got caught up in all of that lead drama, and it's cost him because he would have leapfrogged Tom in all of that.
Well done.
Leapfrogged. Who knows?
It's always interesting, Smithy. It's always interesting. But what we do have, what we do have though, is we do have a CSG leading the midnight, which means that Nick Rowland has done a fantastic job at the moment to put himself into 4th position.
Defo. He has often said that he's not quite got the pace and is just a little bit off the snatches of the leads, but with no Lucas Euler this season because he is off living a life of work and study. That has opened everything up for a new championship winner this season, and it really has it's blown the whole thing wide open, to be fair. Not that it was a shoe-in for Euler from the beginning, but it was worthwhile mentioning that suddenly we're going to have new people left, right and centre popping up to stake their claim to the title.
Yeah, I was saying yesterday that David Junt, who owns Scuderia Basilia, had a difficult task to fill that seat, you know, with Giuseppe Ranieri moving up into midnight into Super League. The only person that has more of a job on their hands to fill a seat than that is Nick with that seat in midnight. You know, who do you get to fill the seat of the double Super League champion? It's just mind-boggling, and you know, to come in last minute and put yourself in, I think it was 11th in qualifying, and move yourself up to 4th in the race. You know, that's a very impressive show, a very mature show. You know, to keep a calm head and do it.
Definitely. Sam Miller, 17th position, battling with Roy Schroten. Outside the points, Harley Hamnet, trying to recover from his front wing damage, has got round Sven de Vries for 19th and 20th a couple of laps ago. But they're all now holding up Lewis Redshaw, who is our leader, and they're not moving over nicely. And Hamnet now gets well out of the way. But again, Ranieri wins out because they're all waking up now that they're being lapped. And who's that in the pits? It's Minosakis, so they all move up one. But again, it's that punching the hole through. And is that a change of position I spy for 10th and 11th? Yeah, Columbus has got back past Heasterbeek for 10th and 11th, and Heasterbeek wants to have a go back through. Target versus Nijo, and Heasterbeek chooses not to stab down there on lap 21 of 58.
Yeah, still, it's 21. Yeah, it's just like we've got so long to go in this race.
Pull up a chair.
Yeah, no, it's good. I like it. You know, just a long story to be told. Which will be running within a second, and I still couldn't tell you who's going to win this race, and that's good. You know, it's not as if someone's running away with it, and that's what we wanted to see.
As Heasterbeek retakes 10th position down at turn 1 from Mindegaus Columbus. Columbus not quite close enough, I don't think, to have a slipstreaming action down to turn 3. We've got our first tweet of the day in, and it's from Adrian Holm, who's just won the ITC Championship earlier this week. And he says, please don't tilt the cameras, you're only making my gastroenteritis worse. So, hope you feel better soon, mate. I hope that was not done by partying as a champion. Adrian Holm, the ITC winner earlier on this week in Monday, We'll be back for a new series of that come April.
14th, I think.
Yeah. Good memory. Good memory.
Yeah. Well, I've got to. I'm team manager in it. I've got to have good memory of it.
Got to get some drivers lined up somewhere along the line.
Oh, see, what if we've already got it sorted? You see? Plans and things and stuff.
Oh, I tell you what, don't give you an end of the world evilness, because otherwise we will all be doomed with a doom clock. Who's that off the track? It was Boyd Bryson in 13th in the Phoenix, but he stays ahead of Tommy Hagan. And that's a change. Roy Schroten and Harley Hamlet have got round Sam Miller because Sam Miller spun it at turn 4. And has he got a front wing? Yes, he has. But that's lost him 2 positions in the process. So Sam losing out in the Kerr now. Not quite keeping up with his teammate today, but it is his debut, so will be nice.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, is that with this is a debut for quite a lot of people on the grid. Yeah, you know, it's just a very, very different environment to anywhere else that we've been. And you know, when you think of it as a driver, you come in here and it's very different. Did you just see something, Smithy?
That's okay. You was in mid-flow. We'll go for it later.
Okay. No, I was just, you know, it's just a very different environment to be in. A very, you know, with all the R&D. The R&D is such a big impact. It's not as if, you know, oh, just hop in this car. It's equal to everyone else. Off you go. Have some fun. You know, it's a very, very different environment than what we've previously seen.
Couldn't agree any more strongly with that. Roy Schroten into the pits from 17th, but he'd just been done by Harley Hamlet into the fast chicane, which was why I went, ooh, because I didn't think it was going to work, but Harley did make it work, although he really should have improved his apex into turn 1, because that was grass, not quite the old gravel. And who was that changing position? That was Van der Vries overtaking Morten Vernonsen for 18th and 19th as well. So plenty of action further on down the order, but still stable up front. Redshaw leads by 1.5 seconds from Ranieri. Videk is in 3rd position, Roland 4. Parisis is catching him though in 5th position, so that's one to watch. Van der Vault is in 6th. Lee Morris has really lost out in 7th. I wonder if he's had an off somewhere or something, because he's now 6 seconds behind Van der Vault. So that is that. Boldy is in 8th with Canapino all over the back of him in 9th, but that's Boldy going through and past. So there's a change there. He's to beat in 10. The other point scorers, Columbus, Asbury, silently getting on with the day in the woods. Bryson for Phoenix, and the 2 Red Archers of Hagan and Missilis rounding out your points. And interestingly, they're all the people on the lead lap.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of lapped cars. I said this was looking pretty spread in qualifying, and to say we're at an early point in the race, you know, we're seeing quite a lot of people lapped. Everyone up to the points actually lapped at the moment. So, yeah, no, it's the pace of the top guys is looking a bit faster than what I initially anticipated, if I'm perfectly honest. But it looks as if Redshaw is just pulling out that gap at the moment as we're approaching the halfway point pretty quickly, and yeah, you know, he's looking like he's pretty good for this one at the moment.
Looks as if we're about to be joined by one of our retirees. Let's see what he's up to. And we have Mr. Toby Davis with us, just whilst we've got a rare lull in this opening race of the season. And Toby, you look like you was having a real topsy-turvy race, and then you really did go topsy-turvy by the end of it, judging by what we saw in the replay. 9 laps in on your first race for Nordzone, sadly out, but talk us through it.
Well, obviously I had an excellent qualifying session, but made the mistake of I've practiced all the time with higher wing settings, and I chose to run to compensate for the lack of curves. That was a mistake, got myself in a tiz about it. But I've got 2 major apologies to make. Obviously, first lap incident was entirely my own fault. I didn't anticipate that everyone was going to brake that early, and I can't remember who I hit, but huge apologies for that. And also to Morten Vernonsen, who I tagged whilst trying to overtake, and that was because I was trying to make up for the error. So it was shocking driving today, absolutely shocking for myself, and I'm better than that. So at Malaysia, I'm going to make sure I know what I'm going to run with, stick with that setup, not getting a tiz about it, and sort myself out. And yeah, a massive apologies to everyone, and also to Norjan. It was shocking.
Okay, thank you. Toby, for that. It's always good to hear, mature attitude from a Super League driver, as leading a good example.
Defo. And it looks as if you're ready for Malaysia, and you're going to be back on the boil. And we know you can do it, Torby. So.
Yeah, I'll try my best. Thanks, guys.
No worries. Enjoy the rest of the race, and hopefully you'll guide the other Norge zone, which is doing rather well for Canapino in the top 10, and guide him home to some result of the point variety. So, very humble there. As Lybeer goes 3 laps down and Herms 2 laps down.
Yes, we've just been told about this this engine rule that once it's blown, it's gone. You've got a certain amount of engines for the year, I believe, and so that's going to be an interesting challenge for the season, especially when we've already discussed this about money. Money is such an important thing, and to run so far down on it is you don't want to be blowing engines because they're expensive to replace.
Definitely, because what happens by the end of it is if you end up running out of money, you then can't buy any upgrades at all, and especially when we've seen ST that can't even run fuel in the qualifying session as Manisakis gets round Sven de Vries because he's in the pits, like he's overshot his garage as well in 19th. It just has like a complete bolding of... Oh, Boldy's out.
Yeah.
And that's a DNF. He's lagged out for me, unfortunately.
Okay, so it's just a disconnection. They're from 11th position as well, so he was running pretty decently, and that's a really big shame.
That is, he was doing very well for Hawkeye. His teammate Ali Hamnet has already been in dramas, so one to forget maybe for Hawkeye as they reconsolidate for Malaysia in 2 weeks' time. But the whole not being able to afford upgrades, not being able to afford engine changes, the fact that once your engine's gone, it's gone, it brings us and aligns us closer to the modern F1 era, but it also has a compound knock-on effect, and you could see a field spread really start to happen, because what we found at the end of last year was that everyone kind of upgraded to full cars quite quickly, and it was a very close field, and I can see the management side of things really having a bigger impact for longer in this season than last season.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing with Super League. You've got Formula Challenge where when you're a team manager, it's just a bit of a laugh, and you're just trying to sort yourself out, and generally it seems like you're having a good fun. Then Super Cup is a step up from that, and you take it a bit more seriously and getting your drivers into position. It's really about the title there. And then you have Super League. This is where a team manager really, really matters. You need a good one that's on the ball, that knows exactly what's going on, and is constantly focusing on where money is going. And is telling the drivers, right, okay, you can't go out in practice because we're saving money. Anything like that. It's just simple things like that. I've also seen Tommy Coyven, I think, locked up going into 11 and 12, and 2 seconds is the lead that Redshaw has at the moment. And one thing that I point out is that the sky is becoming rather grey at the moment.
Uh-oh. Might be trouble wubbles going on. The race starts at 4 PM start time, so we'll see how we go. Yeah, shadows are coming in. One of the beautiful things is Paresis goes wide out of the far chicane but stays in 5th position. Of RFE and all of that is that we do have track temperatures and rain, and that combined with a later start in the evening compounds again the way how the track mutates over the course of a race itself. And so one set of tyres may work beautifully for you, the other one might be an absolute sod.
Yeah, no. Obviously, I was talking to a couple of friends who are racing down the Super Cup, and the 2 tyres. Yeah, I don't have many, but I try.
Oh,
they
hugs from McGlade.
Oh, McProud.
McFriend.
But the tyres feel very, very different. Obviously, that's kind of obviously one's slightly harder than the other, and the compound change is quite large there, and you feel that difference in the wheel and what's going on in the car. So, dependent on track temperature, you could go into the weekend or into the race even, thinking, right, these soft tyres, they're really good in these temperatures, and yet you come on, it's 5 degrees colder than what you thought it was going to be, and you're kind of like going, oh, these tyres are actually really bad, but oh, these prime tyres are are actually quite good. I'll stay on these. This is why these drivers need to adapt to these situations, adapt to what's going on, and it's sometimes very hard to do. But that's just the difference in tyres, and that's the modern world of Superleague.
I love the fact that we have a modern world of Superleague.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It's nice.
Gives me warm feelings inside. There's Tommy Hagen, 13th position, comes round to be the next car to be lapped. I can see the field spread being a lot larger in the real F1 when that kicks off in a couple of weeks' time.
Oh yeah, well, I can see the field spread being a large number of DNFs, if I'm honest, for that.
Yes. At least we don't have turbo issues in this.
Yes, indeed.
So I think. What would you have as an equivalent here? I suppose a disconnection or a graphic failure somewhere along the line. Who knows?
Yeah, that also reminds me of something that I don't know if we brought up in the broadcast, that we were going to come into the season with one brand new addition, which was going to be KERS, which we aren't running because it's when it was first announced, it kind of looked like hey, this is a really good idea, but there's. When it put into practice with a lot of other people, come up with different problems with all the computers, it just becomes a bit too complicated. So I think the decision to remove it for now was a good one.
Discretion is the better part of valor.
Yes,
as Tumala pops into the pits from 21st position, and always reminds me of Tumali, which is a inner part of a oyster or a fishy bit. Watch a Julia Child episode. She goes on about how apparently it's the best part of the fish. And if you stand it upside down, apparently it looks like a lady sitting in a throne.
Well, I'm glad I found that out whilst doing commentary with you. So I think I've also...
source of all knowledge.
Yeah, I know now that if I'm ever sitting there in an evening thinking, hey, look, I've got a question that I'm not really too sure about. It's a bit of a weird one. Oh, Smithy's on Skype. I'll ask him.
GPVWC. There's a hashtag waiting to happen.
Yeah. I've also just noticed that Jim Paresis looks like he's closing up to the back of Nick Rowland for 4th and 5th position. So this is the guy who I don't think won a race last season, if you remember, because it was the two Torrents were running very high in a number of rounds. It was Petri who took the win. Oh, no, it was Jim. No, it was Jim.
Jim done a couple.
Yes, he did do a couple. I remember Manical was the first one. See, I will get there eventually. But yeah, this person who has won.
It's that memory of yours.
Some races. Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, I can also tell you that his first win was actually done after the race because of a penalty that Easterbeek got for pushing him wide in the second to final turn. I remember things.
Imprinted in the brain. I tell you what, Jim. I'm hoping Jim is for once running without injury because he does like to crash his bike in real life. And I remember towards the end of last year, he would come on and he'd be like, I'm in pain. Yeah, so it was a horrible looking bike accident substanding bike accident from what he's describing of it. So I'm hoping that he's back to full health and is able to use all arms, legs and appendages. So yeah, if you're not constantly in hospital, I think you're all right. Just the 4 retirements so far: Kieran Ryan, Toby Davis, Jordan Weeks, and Gogo Baldy. And who has called up to the back of Augustin Canapino? It's only Mr. Beak himself. Not just mentioned for getting penalties. He won't get any penalties to stop him winning this race so far because he's 55 seconds off the leader, battling over 8th.
Yeah, so we're a couple of people closing up a bit. And my thing with Reed is this is the guy who won a few races last year, was second in the championship, only lost it in the final round. So he's a good driver, and he's running down in 9th position in the brand new season. So as times change, will he be able to make that car? After the whole season, obviously we can't forget. This is things that he was spun on that one as Toby came in and apologised. So he's down in 9th position. He's quite a way off the lead. Is this a problem, an actual problem that we're going to see throughout the season? Is this car not that brilliant, or are we going to see him forcing his way back up to the front?
It'll be interesting because the other Nijo is in 6th position, and Tom is normally a little bit slower.
A little bit of a move.
His speed's going to go around the outside. Is he on the chicane? Beautifully done there. He's got the option tyres against the primes of Canapino, but that was still a ballsy move. And Canapino's not done yet as they go side by side down into 13. Canapino tries to brake a little bit later, but Heasterbeek has the apex beautifully covered. And it's a wise man or a brave man to ever go down into 14, so that won't happen.
Yeah, no, I think we've seen a couple of moves into 14, and it's not a good place. It causes a crash on pretty much 100% of occasions. So yeah, I'm glad they didn't try to do that one. But yeah, this is where we're getting the interesting the strategy difference between the two, and we'll see how that pays off towards the end of the race. But you know, keeping focused on our current situation, everyone up to the top 10 has been lapped. So you know, that's the spread of the field at the moment is. You know, all up to 11.
It's a crazy cat. And in terms of actual tyre strategy, everyone except for Lee Morris, Augustin Canapino, Mindergaus Columbus, Sam Miller, Vernonson and Tumala are on option tyres. So everyone seems to be following vaguely the same amount of strategy as Sven de Vries just took Roy Schroten for 18th. In turn 5, and normally that is a smasheroo fest, so God knows how he's managed that in the ST. But yeah, most people seem to be following the same strategy all the way through, and there's just a few breakaways.
Yeah, we've got Jim Parise is really, really close to the back of Nick Rowland at the moment, and he looks like he's clearly the fastest driver. There's only about 4 tenths between them as they cross the line, so Jim Parise is looking to move himself up to 4th position ahead of Nick Rowland. As I said, you know, closing up. It was, I think it was in a couple of seconds the last time we brought him up, and you know, that was only a couple of laps ago, and he's now right on that rear wing of the midnight.
Well, that gives Torrent a little bit of smile to their face. They're half a minute off of Redshaw and Ranieri, who are 3 seconds apart, and Ranieri nearly clouting Asbury as he dawdled out of the way to be lapped. And this was very reminiscent of how Torrent started last season with not the best car by any means at all, and they managed to drag it through about a minute off the pace by the end of the race, I think it was, and from there they were able to build a really good championship car that won several races. And to still be there or thereabouts at the end of the first race kind of means that you've got that uphill climb to go, but they're by no means out of the picture, and they've come back from worse last year, so I think there's mini smiles maybe on the back of that Torrent car. Which reminds me, you know, of the Formula 1 opening where all the bars of light come running through and it goes doo doo doo. Livery reminds me of that, but missing colours. But I know what I mean.
Yeah, okay.
You don't sound impressed as Van der Voort comes into the pits from 6th place. I'm just it's just brain farts. Don't.
It's okay, it's wonderful doing commentary with you because you're just yeah, it's fine. You bring up your random points, it's all good. But yeah, it's I will point out that 4 seconds is the gap between the leads. So Giuseppe Ranieri, considering, you know, earlier on when he was in that you know, draft, he's dropped off 4 seconds in that time. And of course, you know, you're talking 10 laps, something 10, 15 laps, something like that. But you know, he's as soon as that was broke, he's dropped off the back, and yeah, no, it's not looking good for Giuseppe Ranieri in that win.
Can't remember if we mentioned Kenny Lybeer, but he's disconnected from the game. He was last and 3 laps down in the Vodball racing car, but he was coming into the pits and then it just lagged out before he actually got there. So problems for Kenny, and out of the race he goes as Heasterbeek overtakes Tom Vandervoort. Vandervoort's just pitted, and Heasterbeek wants a nice clear run onto catching up with Lee Morris. So that's good teamwork.
Giuseppe Ranieri into the pits. That's what I thought. Yes. So Giuseppe Ranieri into the pits. That means that Fidek's up into that 2nd position. I don't think Ranieri is actually going to drop behind his teammate. No, he isn't. Look, they've got an entire straight. That's the level of speed that these top 3 have had over the rest of the field. That you can make a pit stop, and it's a free pit stop over everyone else, and that's quite impressive. But
yeah, so we've got just behind actually with the Rowland and Parise's battle. They're 32 seconds off the back of Redshaw. So Lewis looking good at the moment. So I'll touch every piece of wood possible, including, yes, that one. And
wow,
we will not curse a CSG problem, or for anyone else, to be fair.
I also noticed that Heatspeak has got past Vandervoort. I wonder if that's anything team-wise, but I don't know. I didn't cut back to it. But yeah, so Heatspeak into 7th position. He's got just over 10 seconds to Lee Morris, who's the car in front, and Lee is in a little area of his own, a nice little bubble, the Lee bubble, as it would be, just where he can drive and do some laps. That's about it, really.
Also beautiful. I tell you what, it is filthy driving over 16th position. Hamnet and Miller. Hamnet nearly T-boned poor Miller down into turn 3, and I don't think he thought that he was going to enjoy that one very much, and then kind of done a weird little shivel of the car to keep Hamnet behind him in the Kernel versus Hawkeye scrap. Both outside the points because Manusakis has got round the pair of them over the last stint, so we'll see how that one all ends up. And Paris's in the pits on 5th position, and he's sticking the primes on, as did Ranieri on his last stop, so clearly I think that means that he could run to the end now.
Yeah, looking at it, it's that's a fair strategy to run to the end from now. It's only 22 laps these tyres should last, and he's coming out just in front of the Jewel. That's a lap down, so it's fine. Jim Paris is out in 6th position.
But that Jewel was a swap of position actually, because it was Jim's teammate Manusakis a lap behind Jim, but getting 14th position off of Davidas Missilis. So all for points. Points mean prizes.
Redshaw into the pits, which means I think Fidek's actually going to go around and lead. Yes, he is. Indeed, he goes. So I think Redshaw is going to have a nice little lead over Giuseppe Ranieri, and I do personally feel that this is going to be Redshaw's now. But still, you know, as I said, 22 laps. It's a long way to go until the end of the race, until that checker flag is flown. But Redshaw having a nice big advantage at this present moment in time.
Onto the prime tyres, and that's really stretched. Actually, really stretched. As Nick Rowland massively locks up his tyres coming in from 4th position, and that's going to be interesting to see where he comes out in the battle with Jim Paresis, who is now actually holding up his teammate now that his teammate's actually free and is on the faster tyres. So Nick, decent stop. That's Lee Morris going through. He's yet to do his stop, and he'll be late and one of the last ones to do so because he's running the primes now. Rowland well out in 5th position, well clear of Paresis, who stays in 6th.
Yeah, so nice different strategies adopted by all the drivers so far.
Clearly must be a big difference then also between the prime and the option tyre, because it's just been a couple of laps and that worked out beautifully for Redshaw, as who's that Canapino in from 8th, 9th positions. And it just took an extra lap or two, and he's now got a 6-second advantage. Yes, his pit stop was faster, but certainly the tyres coming into play there.
Yeah, let's just have a look. Is Fidek going to? Yes, Fidek is into the pits. So Redshaw obviously going to retake the lead of his Grand Prix, and it's been an impressive drive so far. But this is one thing that I was going to bring up a bit earlier on. That, you know, this track, Australia, it's a bit of an odd one, really. You know, you look at all the other tracks in the calendar. There's none that's, you know, you can think is really that similar to this. It's quite an odd track to start the calendar with, and you know, this is the one that they've all had access to for a long time. You know, they could come in here and practice on this track for a very long time previous to the event. Next time they've got 2 weeks, which is still quite a long period of time. But you know, I don't know if this is painting a real picture for the championship. Also, you know, you got R&D and everything like that, and how much money. So I don't know if this is going to be how we're going to continue on the season, but I like Lewis, so that's fine.
Suddenly Superleague becomes the Lewis McGlade popularity contest.
That's fine. Also, actually, here's something that I wanted to point out. David Fidek is in front of Giuseppe Ranieri after they've both pitted.
They are indeed. That was beautifully done. And that is what the difference is. Looking at the lap times of how it was going before and afterwards, it's looking about 1.3 seconds, obviously fuel affected as well, the difference between prime and option for Giuseppe Ranieri, and yeah, that is now put CSG as a 1-2 at the moment. Fidek will be under pressure because he's got to get those tyres up to temperature nice and quickly, which does take about a lap and a half to do. Ranieri though, will pop himself right onto the rear, and it will soon be a test of mettle for Fiduk to see what he can do. Lee Morris yet to pit in 4th position. Rowland is in 5, well clear of Paresis 6th. Vandervoort is in 7. Columbus is in 8th. Easterbeek 9th on his option tyres. Canapino's in 10th, also on option, so look for him to try and get himself up a position or two right at the end. Asbury just rejoins the pits in 11th for Woods on prime. Boyd Bryson in 12th on the options. Tommy Hagan 13th for Red Archer. Georgios Manusakis 14th. And Missilis in 15th. In the second of the Red Archers, your point scorers. Still running, Harley Hamnet, Sam Miller, Sven de Vries, Roy Schroten. Morten Vernonson is then 2 laps down with Tumala, Herms and Kovenen, your last runner in 23rd and last for Green Stripes Racing, who have not had the best start to the season, as neither driver are in the top 20 at the moment.
Yeah, and also, as you were saying that, Lee Morris has been in the pit lanes, dropped down to 7th position for the Kerno.
Critically behind Vandervoort, and he's now on the fast tyres, so in theory he'll be able to catch up and have a good go, like a little pit bull, but he's then going to have to deal with getting all of that through, so we'll soon see. There's a bit of argument over what he's on, but I've got him down as option. Never mind, we'll soon find out.
Wonderful. We all like being a bit confused.
Ah, tell me about it, my formative years.
And now it looks like Giuseppe Ranieri is obviously closing up to the back of David Fiduk. And going back for his second position he wants so much. It's Giuseppe Ranieri. But can he do it before the end of the race? That's the important thing. He has closed up quite a lot, and looked like he just made a bit of a mistake there into turn 3, but that's fine. That's fine. You know, you got plenty of time. I remember Giuseppe Ranieri having a little bit of a spin in the race last year of Super Cup at Monza, and going through the Ascari chicane, the second bit, he had a big old spin coming out there whilst leading, and luckily pointed in the right direction. But this, you know, he makes the odd mistake here and there, but only when he's really pushing the car.
Sometimes it's all about making sure that you minimise the mistakes as opposed to having the maximum speed, and if you've got both then you are win-win all the way. And that was Danny Asbury taking Boyd Bryson back for 11th and 12th positions as they battle themselves. And good to see Phoenix looking like they're going to get their duck broken on the opening round, unlike taking the vast majority of the season to get going. And there he is, passing Danny Asbury back through again into turn 13. Asbury keeps to the outside, Bryson very late on the brakes, but exceptionally done. Nice and clean from Boyd, everyone's favourite South African this year in Super League, and probably owing to the fact that he is the sole South African on the field, so he wins regardless.
Yeah, now, you see, Danny, I mean, he was kind of coming into this a bit worried about where he's going to be and everything like that. We were talking about this before the race, because I talked to him a lot, and I've seen where he's come from. He's come from the same kind of background of TPS with, like, Gergo and even Toby.
Broken homes.
And he's come over here and just trying to comfort himself into this seat, and he's filling some pretty big boots as to what Oscar was saying. That it's not an easy thing to do, is to sit in that woods and drive around, because it's definitely not the best car on the grid. But Danny Asbury in 12th position, that's a pretty good drive so far.
Boss Ollie will take that one. What's going on with Ranieri and Fiduk? Ranieri's just regrouping himself after that little mini problem earlier on last lap, and he's still looking a bit ragged on just kicking up a little bit of dirt here and there, as is Fiduk now, actually, now that I've said that. Both 6 seconds off of Redshaw, and Redshaw I think can now start to pace himself on what is going on behind and react accordingly, as Rowland still has a 1.5 second advantage over Paresis, and Tom Vandervoort, despite being a Vandervoort train earlier on in the race, has actually increased his pace over the race comparatively to everyone else, and is keeping Paresis fairly honest in 6th position.
Yeah, and it's looking good for Vandervoort at the moment, and as saying, other than P2 and P3, who are pretty close together with Giuseppe Ranieri and David Fiduk, everyone else seems to be just that little bit spread out. as Van der Voort into the pit lane, which means Lee Morris is going to get past. And I think Van der Voort is going to come out just behind his teammate, possibly. And he's switched to the option tyres. So, yeah, as he comes out of the pit lane, his teammate's coming around the final turn. So it's going to be close between those two.
I respect the gentlemanly Tumala there, who actually got off the accelerator in the pit lane to just go, all right, blue flag, blue flag.
I'll just
surrender.
get it up here, it's easier. Okay.
Yeah. I surrender. Don't do a Kenny Liberian and bin it in turn 1 trying to get out of the way of everyone. But Van der Voort out ahead of Heasterbeek. And I wonder how long that will stay like that for. Much as the bane of Tom Van der Voort's life of 2013 was the fact that no matter what he done, Heasterbeek was usually about 2/10 a second faster up the road, and he would be constantly looking inward at himself to see why. And he'll be pleased that he's still ahead, despite of whatever's happened down at turn 3 on lap 1 for Heasterbeek. And see how long that keeps going as Ranieri onto the back of Fiduk and trying both inside and outside for turn 3, sticks his wheel up the inside, but he won't be able to stick it through and looking a bit ragged there.
Yeah, that's where we saw quite a lot of moves in Super Cup, was in that turn 3 on the outside, and it doesn't look like it's working on these cars. Obviously these cars are quite a bit bigger than those, and it's a bit harder to fit around the outside and keep all wheels on the track. But yeah, it's kind of this is what you need to do, when testing for Super League and stuff like that, or even any series. If you have a teammate, you've got to test with them. You've got to know where you can overtake and what you can do, and that's why Ranieri's not been in the best position, with obviously not really knowing who his teammate is going to be for this event, and hasn't been able to take advantage of that. Also, I've seen Ruud Heasterbeek has just passed on Van der Voort before turn 1, so those two have had the old switcheroo, and Heasterbeek is in 7th position at the moment.
Switcheroo. Ranieri still behind Fiduk. They lap Sam Miller in the Kernel, who gets out of the way quite nicely. That now gives them a small gap before they catch up to a battle that's going on slightly further up the field. And I think Fiduk doesn't have a particular straight line speed advantage over Ranieri down the straight. And Ranieri, different line through turn 1, takes a lot more of the inside curb.
Oh, Paresis with the cutback on Nick Rowland moves up to 4th position. Turn 13, that was a good nice little switchback for Paresis.
Done. Nicely done there by Paresis. So that now makes it CSG, Midnight Torrent, Midnight Kernel, your top 6. And Ranieri continues to grab onto the back. That was a real quick wind in. Get your teeth inside. So that he can actually, because he was a 1.5 seconds behind a couple of laps ago. So well done.
Yeah, we're just struggling to get that one out a bit there, huh?
I always struggle. It's a daily struggle for me, as Ranieri is struggling also to get round the rear wing of David Fiduk. Pops out to have a little peekaboo, but nothing doing down into 13. Maybe someone should send him exactly what. Well, someone tell Nick Rowland over. Shush! You go for it, Lewis.
Wow, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just sitting here being amused. It's all good. This is something though. With these two battling out with Ranieri and Fiduk, it's only really helping Redshaw run away with it a bit more. 6.2 seconds is his lead. It's 3/10 between these two, and I think Ranieri's the faster of the two. But I think if he gets past Fiduk, he's not going to run away, and that's the important thing. That I think David will stay with him.
Fiduk getting the old argy-bargies out. Tell you what, you can order them from a takeaway at 10 a dozen. And down at the end of Sector 1, don't see many moves going down into that corner that work very well, but if someone's wrong footage you can have a go. Do see a few moves coming up to this corner though, depending on how aggressive you go for the inside curb. Again, he has a little look and actually locks up a little bit, and he'll lose a smidgy bit of time going around the back straight, and I don't see at this late stage in the game anyone having to go into the fast chicane for a lead position. I like the way we still like weaving around as if to try and put poor old Fiduk off.
I see now that fast chicane is just a scary place to be. Even in like a Formula Challenge car, which is the smallest car that we've got when it comes to open wheels, going wheel to wheel through there is only room for one, really. And to say that some of these guys are pulling it side by side, making an overtake, still going for the overtake through 11 and 12, in these big old Super League cars, it's very brave, very very brave.
I know it's not the battle for dramatic positions, but Schroten and Miller battling over 18th and 19th for just a couple of seconds behind Ranieri and Fider, because Ranieri has another determined look as they're lapping Sven de Vries's ST, and Sven needs to make sure that when he gets out of the way he does so for 2 cars, not for 1, which is often not as easily done as said, but he's found a good place to try and do it now if he pulls out of the way beautifully. Ranieri may be able to take advantage of being held up slightly because Sven doesn't look like he's seen them yet. No.
Well, Sven, I think we were discussing this, who was second twice yesterday in the 2 Super Cup races, is an aggressive driver, and he'll get out of the way when he feels it's necessary, unfortunately.
I would have thought it was necessary on the last straight before the chicane, to be fair, and it's giving Ranieri a fantastic run. And is Divided going to end up boxed in? No, he isn't. He pulls out at the last minute. Ranieri follows him through. Sven de Vries there being very firm about exactly what he's doing in his run to 17th position, and his run completely off the track in the background there. But that was crucial for Fiduk to make sure that he didn't get boxed in, because otherwise that would have probably been game over for second position.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen so far this season, with the slight bit of Super Cup that he's done, he will do what he wants that's within the rules. He won't do something which he'd class as stupid. Yeah, there we go. P2 and P3.
Nicely done down the outside, maybe for Ranieri. Gets run right the way out to the curb. He's going to have the inside, just the tiniest of tags. But Fiduk stays ahead for now. Ranieri right behind and running out onto the curb, kicking up a bit of dirt. And again, showing his flair of the pasta from another master, as that Hagen's in the pits off your screens. Fiduk keeps second for the time being, but you have to wonder, can he hold this back for 11 laps?
Yeah, as much as like 11 laps. Disappearing. You remember how I was saying about how people were going for that move still through 11 and 12? Ho! Jeez. That's a scary place to do it.
Is he going to go for it? Fiduk, he's been very generous by opening. He's going for the optimum line, obviously, Fiduk, but it's like opening an invitation to say, stick it down here, go on, and then chopping off slightly, and it's now dropping them to 7 seconds off of Lewis. So it's the first time that he's actually gained over these two, because they were starting to reel him in ever so slightly because they was having to push up their pace.
Yeah, now they got 7.5.
Yeah. Fiduk stays ahead for another lap round in the battle for the silver medal position, as you were. He was following the old Russians in the Olympics. Remember when it was going to be Olympic medals in Formula 1? Crazy. Only Bernie could think of that. Thankfully we don't adopt that policy here. We're generous all the way down to P15 as Ranieri.
Yeah. Oh, I was about to bring up that point about double points in the final race.
No. Are we doing double points for the final race?
No, we're not doing double points for the final race.
I was going to say, I've hung up my helmet right here. I hung up my microphone, sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Unless I've gone for the full experience whilst commentating, they are thus wearing said helmet on said head. Who knows? Who knows? And I won't be tweeting any of those pictures anytime soon. Deal though, Redshaw 7 seconds clear of Fiduk and Ranieri. This enthralling battle for second and third. Paris is in 4. He's pulled 4 seconds away from Roland in 5. Lee Morris is still very much on his own in 6th, but closing Roland down quite quickly. The gap at the beginning of their stint was 12 seconds. It's now down to 4.5. So that looks like it's going to come to a head in about 3.5 laps time. Then it will be Heasterbeek in 7th, Van der Voort in 8th, Canapino is in 9. Mindergaus Columbus in 10, then 1 lap down Bryson 11, Asbury 12, Missilis 13, Hagen 14, Manusakis in 15th place for the second of the Torrents, then outside the points is Hamnet 16, 2 laps down to Fries in 17, Schroten and Miller still going at it, Hammer and Tongs for 18th and 19th, Schroten ahead at the moment, then it's to Marla and Covenant 3 laps down in the green stripes, as is Calvin Herms, who has actually just been overtaken for the wooden spoon position by Covenant. So, still stuff going on further down the field, but none of it for points paying positions just yet, which is why we're so stuck on this battle for second and third.
Yeah, I'm getting the feeling that David is now lapping a little bit quickly and has just gapped himself from Giuseppe Ranieri, and he's closing in on his teammate just a little bit. It was a half a second last lap that Fidek closed in, but with only 9 laps to go and 8 of the line, it's I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to do it. So looks like this is one all said and done if Redshaw can just keep it on track until the end.
Boyd Bryson's just pops into the pits, and Danny Asbury's off in the barriers. Oh dear, 11th position. He's lost his front wing. Bryson goes through, and that's disaster for Woods, because that's going to drop him potentially behind both Red Archers, the torrent of Manusakis, and it's all down to whether Harley Hamnet can get through as well. And Asbury there, that is a real last minute drama and brain fade for him, because he just looked like he completely overcooked it and forgot to brake. Bizarre.
Well, we all have a little bit of brain fade at times, and it's fine. Yeah, it is best to do it in round 1 and get it out of the way. I remember in Formula Challenge with someone who we were all thinking was going to be the winner of the championship with Jonathan Holmes, and forgetting to do his setup, and I will bring that up in a Super League broadcast. Just for Jono. But, we all have like a little bit of brain fade, even the best, and it's nothing to be too ashamed of. It just happens, really. Unfortunately.
Bryson's through. Asbury is made it to the pits, and he may actually get out in between the Red Archers, as Ranieri has another look at Fidek.
I was going to say, he's really, really closed up to the back of Fidek once again, so having a nice little bit of cool off for his tyres, and once again going to go for that second position.
They punt him round though, down into turn 15.
Yeah.
There's like nose to tail strategy going on.
So yes, I see Danny Asbury into the pit lane. Not sure why, but still, we'll get to that after the race. This Rachel 7 seconds to the lead now that Fidek is keeping his eye on his mirrors and on Ranieri, so gapping him once again. But yeah, it's Ranieri is definitely going to go for the second position before the end of the race. I'm pretty confident of it.
Well, he's got 6 laps in what to do it in. They're on lap 52 of 58 here at Albert Park for the opening round of GPVWC Super League Championship 2014. We know for a fact that the new champion will be
Ranieri
doomed.
once again at that corner. Turn 5. Just out wide. It was a bit dodgy for Giuseppe Ranieri. Apologies.
Does he need to Ranieri that one in?
Oh, that was bad.
Clanger. Moomin.
That was almost as bad as he's got rain in his name, and he's good at rain, or whatever it was from Indianapolis last year. Oh dear.
I remember that one. I try not to remember what I say on a broadcast.
It's
so
okay.
Can't come back to haunt me.
It's okay. It was in Super Cup. It was with James. Good times.
Aww. Bless us all and all that sailed in it. As Ranieri look like he's going to have another stab in his favourite positions down at turn 3 and so on. I tell you what, there's a massive gaggle of cars up ahead that Redshaw's come up to lap, which include Hamnet, Columbus, and a couple of others above him. And Asbury's retired with brake failure.
I've just seen that Danny Asbury's retired with brake failure. That would explain why he's back into the pits.
Oh, and Ranieri ran outside for Fidek. There's slight contact between the two. Ranieri still got the inside for free fall. Oh my goodness me! Fidek gave him just the hair's breadth of room, and again keeps ahead. But it's that section of the track Ranieri feels like he can really stab it through. I think he needs to switch it up and have a go down at the sector 3 positions and do like a kind of half stab up the inside to see if it can shake up the routine a little bit, because Viaduct can see those coming.
Yeah, this is the thing when you're trying to attack someone who is, you know, Viaduct knows what he's doing, and you need to attack him in a place that he doesn't know. And 11 and 12 would not be where I'd recommend him to Pironieri.
That would be one where he wouldn't know though.
That would, well, it wouldn't be one that he would know. It'd be one that he'd be going, oh, not here. Oh, I just seen, yes, Harley Hamnet into the wall, down in 15th position. He's lost his front wing once again.
And he needs to get out of the way because Viaduct and Ranieri are there. He just gets out of the way in time. Viaduct late on the brakes. Is he going to make the corner? Yes, he does. Just about. But that was drama they did not need on lap 54 that they're just starting now with 58. Hamnet into the pits. That's going to lose him potentially his final place. But Tom Hagen's in as well because of all the drama that went on, because there was 2 spins going on at the same time. And that's actually separated out that massive gaggle of cars that they were going to have to lap. So in a backwards way, that is going to help Viaduct slightly.
Yeah.
Ooh, Viaduct, no!
This is the commentary. The commentary's become lots of screams. But no, that was a bit scary. Sepriani really wants this position, but obviously CSG won their to start their season with a 1-2.
Rowland's fallen behind Morris just into turn 15. He's got through. Beautifully done there by Morris. Rowland now down to 6th position. This is where the option tyre is starting to come into Lee Morris's own, and Paresis is only 2 seconds up the road and is on the prime. So 4th is ready for the taking for Morris potentially if he can just get through.
Indeed. But
Giuseppe having another go. Again, it's that whole I'm going to take the sweeping line in for Viaduct, and it invites Ranieri to have half a stab. Sooner or later he's going to go, I'm going for it regardless, and maybe do a little bit of a lean.
Indeed. But Giuseppe Ranieri, I've seen him pull some good moves. You know, he can keep calm when he's in the field. Obviously sometimes, you know, he makes the odd mistake when he was in the field last year, but yeah, he can keep calm, and he just needs to do that. He's obviously made 2 mistakes in this race, where he's 2 big mistakes we've already seen, with turn 5 going off there twice, and that's cost him. And he just needs to get past Viaduct. So apparently Nick's wheel came off the desk, and that's why he dropped back in 6th position. So say that his wheel's been off his desk. He's in 6th position, brought in last.
Sorry.
Oh, where's
Roy
this?
Schroten's lost his front wing. He needs a pit, Roy. You've got no front wing. He's missed the pits.
Oh dear.
Schroten, you've made a right Schroten of that one, because you've missed the whole pit exit altogether. Smacked poor old Paresis, and that has actually allowed Morris to catch an entire second on that lap alone in the battle for what is now 4th position, as Viaduct and Ranieri pass Manusakis, and that means that they're through a lot of that traffic that I was worried about, so they're going to be fine and back to their own little scrap.
Indeed. So that's a shame for Roy and Woods, and they're not having a particularly good day after. It was looking quite nice actually earlier on when you think of it. You know, you had Danny Asby running in the points, and Roy Straight running in what was looking as a pretty decent position, and now
Woods curse.
The Woods curse screaming loud and clear right there.
Just like us when a move happens.
Well, it's not really. Yeah, that's just screaming. Not really clearly. It's just noises to just to let you all know at home that we're scared.
There's a pulse.
We're scared.
That sounds like an after-race therapy session waiting to happen. 2 laps to go, though.
Yes, 2 laps to go. And Giuseppe Ranieri once again on the back of David Farley. Can you say 2 laps? 2 to do.
But he's doing the whole running wide again.
Yeah, the dirty air of the car is going to affect it quite badly, especially through that corner. You know, when you close up, it's just, it gets a little bit dodgy through 5. You can see how easily Reginald's taken it though, considering the gap has come down to 6.1. Not that this would really require anyone to worry. He's just bringing it home. That's the important thing. Just bring it home.
And especially because it's looking like lining up for a first win. There's a lot of self-imposed pressure on the top, not only just to get the monkey off your back to have that first win, but because it's now becoming a realisation. Sometimes you start to second guess the way how you drive, and then you don't drive as naturally as you are, and you start making weird little twitch mistakes and second guessing yourself because you don't want to put in jeopardy this first win, and that takes a lot to control.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be having his heart pounding. His Redshaw in 5.8 seconds the gap. As said, doesn't really matter.
He wins, I'll give him a
once again, very, very, very close, and I'm sure you will. I bet you'd be happy to see old Lulu win, because you've obviously done the season of ITC together. And Redshaw wants it's Fidek on the inside, taking defensive line. It's fine.
Oh, Missilis was so generous on the old themey bob. I was glad that Giuseppe managed to wave his ragu sauce out of the way just in time. But yeah, Fidek once again got the better one out from that with just 2 to go. And yeah, 5.8 clear. I'd be delighted to see Lewis Redshaw take his first victory, having worked with him quite a lot on the old cameras and a little bit of comms here and there. And yes, I can't wait to see exactly what he'd say in an interview afterwards. But I tell you what, credit where credit's due. Regardless of how this ends up, David Fidek, has soaked up so much pressure from today, and I think that has shown exactly what kind of metal he's made of.
Yeah, Formula Challenge runner-up last season, and obviously he joined quite late in that season from memory. Well, no, by late I mean I think it was a couple of rounds in, 3 rounds, 4 rounds in, something like that. He hopped into that car, and he was at pace off the podiums into that. Took a couple of wins. Simink took the team's championship later on that year with Fidek, and now he's up here with CSG, and is doing a good job as we enter the final lap, the Australian Grand Prix.
Broton's only just decided to come into the pit, so he's done about 2.5 laps with no front wing, so I don't know if he quite thought that it was just a feeling in the car or something that wasn't quite right. Fidek and Ranieri are going to come up to Mindergaus Columbus potentially to lap the 10th place runner and rider in the race, so he needs to sort themselves out. They may not catch him actually because he's going at quite a decent pace. But Redshaw lapped all the way up to 9th position. Just quickly whilst they're going around the final lap, who would you say is your driver of the day?
I see it's either between Redshaw, because obviously running away and taking the win, or actually Nick Rowland, to come in this late and be able to be that on pace to get into 6th position. I think that's very impressive. But Redshaw has just done such a good job today to have won by a small margin over his teammate, and then a large margin over the rest of the field.
Absolutely. Coming through then, the final couple of corners. Ranieri is not close enough to have a go at Fidek, which leaves us to cheer around Lewis Redshaw. It's been a while coming, but CSG on debut, and Lewis Redshaw take their very first victories here for GPVWC Super League at Albert Park, Australia. Perfect way to start off 2014. A 1-2 with David Fidek coming home in 2nd position, less than 5 seconds off the leader. Giuseppe Ranieri ran them hard, but comes home in 3rd place, the only one to hold a candle to the CSG guys. Jim Paresis is going to come round for 4th position in Torrent Motorsports in a very good recovery drive from what was a bit of a torrent start to the actual race itself. Lee Morris is going to come home in 5th position, unable to catch Paresis towards the end, and is actually being reeled in quite quickly by Rowland. So I wonder if Lee Morris is in trouble somewhere along the line, and someone's off in the gravel.
Yeah, I saw an ST off there, I think.
Yeah, Morris gets it wrong. Rowland's going to take 5th position. Yes, he does, as they cross the line just by less than over a tenth of a second. Rowland there gets it. Morris, it looked like he'd lost some tyres or something because he was skidding about. And nearly doing a Montoya-esque spin. Caught it but lost out. Rowland grabs a superb nifty 5th from Morris. Vandervoort grabs 7th ahead of Canapino in 8th position. Heasterbeek ends up 9th after all that, so that was a last minute drama for him because he was in 7th position. I wonder if he had to make a last minute pit stop. Then 10th, 1 lap down, Mindergaus Columbus. Points on debut for him and for Target Racing in their new team. Phoenix, great stuff. That's better than what they'd done, I think, for most all of last year. In 11th position. 1 lap down. 2 laps down, Davidus Missilis for Red Archer. Points on his debut. Georgios Minusakis for Torrent in 13th, 2 down. Miller 14th for Kerno, also 2 down. As is Tommy Hagen, who grabs the final point in his debut for 15th position. 16th, Harley Hamnet. for Hawkeye. 17th, Morton Vernonson, 2 down in the Vodball. 18th and with a blown engine, so that's going to be an issue. Sven de Vries retiring there with engine failure. Then, so yeah, 1 engine done on the very first race. Issues for him, spinning round. Then 3 laps down, Mikhail Tumala for Green Stripes. Roy Schroten, 20th, 3 laps down, back with a front wing again for Woods. Tommy Covenant, 4 down for Green Stripes. And Calvin Herms brought home his ST, 4 laps down in 22nd places. Your retirements, Danny Asbury with brake failure, lap 50. Kenny Liebeard, lap 27, disconnection. Gergo Baldi, 26. He had a disconnection in the Hawkeye after a strong race. Jordan Weeks, 2, a strong race in the Target. Suspension failure on lap 17 are following an incident. Toby Davis, also in an incident on lap 9. And Kieran Ryan was backwards in the barriers down at turn 1 after a big drama off the start line in his Phoenix.
Yeah, that is probably the perfect way to start off the year, and actually to start off their Super League. Is with CSG, you know, the 1-2 in Melbourne, the first round of the season, and wonder if they'll be pushing that on throughout the rest of the year and throughout the rest of the season, and we'll have to see if that's actually the case. That's actually what happens. But you couldn't have had a more dream start to the season for CSG.
Waiting for some of the drivers to pop across so that we can start interviewing these wonderful people that have provided us plenty of entertainment throughout the last couple of hours. I was just trying to think of who my driver of the day would end up being, and I think I'm gonna give it to Redshaw because it's such a good monkey to get off your back, and it takes an awful lot of guts, and even when things are going your way you still have to make it happen, and Lewis certainly did that. Massive shout out to Fiduk for being able to hold off Ranieri, and Ranieri for being the only person to really chase the CSG people home. Outside of that, I think it's also worthwhile noticing Target getting a top 10 on their debut as well. I think that's really important. Phoenix doing a better race than what they did for practically all of last year. And yeah, a couple of other people really stood out for me too, with Davis and Baldy, who didn't make it home. So I think that sets us up for what is going to be a really, really interesting 2014.
Yeah, you've got a long season ahead of you. You've got I think it's 17 rounds or 16 rounds to go then of the season, and it's going to be a push for some of the drivers to keep that up. I wonder if, my question is, can Redshaw keep that up? Can he keep those wins coming? Is this going to be a consistent thing we're going to see over the season? And there's only one way to find out.
Bye! Oh no, wrong show. No. So let's just start getting these peoples in the room. Thanks. A few people waiting to go, and let's start off with the man who has finally taken that dirty, filthy monkey off his back and tossed him in the trash. Lewis Redshaw, you're a winner.
Thank you. I can't even tell you how good that feels.
Talk to us through it, because that was a strange one in that you looked in command, but you never looked like you was out of being pressured.
Yeah, it all started in qualifying. I just had the suspicion that doing 2 outlaps would be a good idea, and then doing a flying lap. And I think all my 3 laps were good enough for pole, which I really wasn't expecting. I know I've been quick, but I knew David was quick as well, so I didn't really know what's going to happen. And that's the best start I've ever got. I was trying a new start out, and I was really worried it wasn't going to work. And then Giuseppe, I can't believe how quick he was in the first stint. And I knew their pit stops were going to be faster. And then we've managed to get a bit of a gap on the second stint and just never looked back from that. The only time I was really pushing was about halfway through that the middle stint, just to build a bit of a gap. But hats off to David as well, my teammate, and Giuseppe, because that was some really fun racing.
I think you owe David a massive thank you for keeping poor Giuseppe behind for such a long period of time. He looked like he was harassed.
Indeed. I think we could have probably pushed a bit more in that final stint, but there was no point in doing so, really, with obviously David keeping behind as well, keeping Giuseppe behind, but I can't even believe it.
Yeah, it was an impressive drive there. Do you think that this is the kind of pace that you can keep going through the season, or do you think it'll be like you look at last year where you had the midnights. They'll, do you think they'll come back into it, the Torrents? Do you think they'll be up there over the next couple of rounds, or do you think that you're going to carry this level of dominance with the 1-2 over to the next round?
We've known for a while that we were going to have a pretty good car for this race, but we also obviously know, because we're a new team, our budget's not going to be as good, and that's what all the R&D stuff this year seems to matter more on the budget that teams have. So we knew we were going to have a really fast car for Melbourne, and we are expected to tail off, but I've got to win now. That's really all I needed. So we never know. We never see what's going to happen in Sepang, so we'll have a look. And I don't think we're expecting any updates now for a very long time. So it was just finally good to get this one done for, obviously, Dave, the manager, as well. He's done a brilliant job all winter, and just then in there keeping us all motivated and keep us happy. And it's just, he hasn't had the best day. And to give him that and get a 1-2 on the grid and in the race and then fastest lap as well, it's just been a brilliant day.
Yeah, impressive driving. It's a nice way to start off the season.
It is, thank you.
So thank you very much to Lewis, and go and celebrate that one, my good man. We also have your teammate who soaked up so much he might as well open himself up a sponge bath product. And David Fiduk, how does it feel to finish off a 1-2 for CSG, and talk to us about that insane battle that lasted for nigh on 20 laps with Giuseppe?
That was just, I'm speechless, to be honest. Before this race, me and Lewis was like trying to play it down a little, like not trying to get too excited, but we knew we had a good car inside. And I thought, Australia, I've never gone well here, so top 5 was my aim. Get P2 after a bad start. I was just so nervous when the lights were coming on. I actually started shaking. I was like, "Oh my god!" For the first 10 laps, I couldn't calm down, but got myself together and managed to go another 2 or 3 laps further than Giuseppe on the second stop. Jumped him in the pit, and then it was just, you can't explain that. It was just an epic battle. Both there, like he was just so late on the brakes. I just had to cover the inside everywhere I could, but that was crazy. 1-2 in the first race. Couldn't ask for anything more.
And you shadowed Lewis all the way, which was fantastic because it shows the dominance of the team as a whole. For yourself as a driver, now seeing where the team are and what potentially will happen in the next couple of races, quite fancying that next time on the top step of the podium will be a Mr. Fiduk instead?
I would love that. Like I said, Australia's unlucky for me. Pang I love, and China as well. So yeah, I'm going to give it everything, but got to be realistic as well. Like Lewis said, our budget is not as much as other people's. I expect and alternate guys to just pull away. But yeah, we've got 3 great drivers, me, Lewis, and Florian. So we'll push more than ever.
Yeah. So after your first race, this season in the Superleague, and from last season where you were in Formula Challenge, has it been like a really big jump mentally? Has it been more of like a challenge for you? Just even outside of the car as a driver, for this season.
No, not really. The main pressure, I guess, was just trying to compete with Lewis and the other guys, just to make sure I'm on pace, because a full season in Formula Challenge, I haven't raced in an F1 mod for over a year, so I thought, oh my god, I'm going to be quite far behind. Come testing, obviously I did Spa last year, so I was kind of glad to do this race, get a podium, and not make a mistake like I did in Spa, and then do this race. There was no expectations or pressure on me in like any other race. It was just do my own thing.
Yeah, that's it's been an impressive drive so far. Obviously, defending from the Super Cup champion last year in a midnight, very, very impressive. So you take that and you carry on into the next round with that high up in your mind, and continue the season with that level of confidence.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a fantastic start. Lewis did a great race. After my poor start. Yeah, I was able to get back to second, but yeah, we did it. So move on to the next one. Work twice as hard, and let's try to do it again.
Amazing stuff. Well, thank you very much, David. Go and enjoy. Soak yourself in as much champers as you can.
Will.
Will, mate. Good. Well done. Lastly, we have Mr. Tom van der Voort in the house for Nijo, and nice finish there to 7th position. And how did you feel today went? Because we noticed that there was quite a big field spread, and we weren't quite sure whether it was that the car was a little bit too far back, or was it just settling into the new season? Talk us through how it was from your perspective.
Well, it's obviously a big step up from the way it ended last year. Finishing is always a good thing. I had, qualifying wasn't too good. Didn't really get some good laps in, so I qualified 10th. Had an amazing start though. Was up into 4th by the end of the first lap, so that was really good. But I was just generally slower than the likes of Baldi and Nick and Lee behind me. So I was just basically keeping them up for the entire first stint. And I just lost an incredible amount of time on the first pit stop. Lost out to basically all 3 of them. No, because Baldi spun off before that, but I lost out to Roland and to Morris. Biggest problem today was that I didn't feel 100% comfortable in the car yet. I couldn't push it entirely to the limit like I wanted to, but it was a difficult race. People were just faster than I was. It's the bottom line, and it wasn't 7th isn't really where I wanted to be, but it was where I expected to be. And it's a good point finish. Shame about Ruud getting hit in first lap. Did a splendid job getting back to 9th eventually. It's a decent team result, but it's not anywhere near where we were last year. So it's gonna be tough to get back to that, especially with a field as competitive as this one. But looking to do the very best I can, obviously.
So where would you think that you'll first look as the next place to improve for Nijo and yourself?
The thing that hampered me the most today was the pit stops. Pit stops were, in my view, just too slow. I think we could gain a lot of time on those, and maybe it's just a matter of setup work. I think the car is good. I think I just didn't set it up perfectly, so I couldn't push 100%. I had to hold back just a tiny bit. But I think the car is going to be good for Sepang. I just need to work out a perfect setup to go with that car, and I think when we've got those 2 in sync, we can get back to the podium where we were.
Yeah, it was. So you say about the car maybe being good for Sepang. This is a car that has won a couple of races in the hands of Ruud last year. Do you think that's going to be something that's going to return later on in the season? Is Nijo going to be pushing their way back to the front of the grid?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so it's not a car thing. It's just a few fundamental issues that you've had throughout this race, and you're confident that you can move on into the next race and push that car that little bit further. Whether it's through obviously strategies, you say, with the pit stops. You think you'll be back up there soon?
I can't honestly tell about myself. Just so many fast drivers here. And the thing is, you don't really know anything about anyone else until race day. You don't know anyone else's pace. The only thing you can compare it to is to your teammate. And if you're doing around the same pace, and you think, oh, we're doing quite well, but then you see Lewis, like in qualifying, doing a 24-1, and I was like, Jesus. It was unreal. To me, it was unreal. And that just shows that we just weren't good enough this race yet. It's just in both setup work and upgrades for the car. And I think, like I said, when we've got those 2 in sync, we will be back up there. I just don't know if it's going to take just one race or a couple, but we're going to get back.
That's good. That's good to hear. And yeah, hopefully moving on to the next round in 2 weeks' time. Where obviously we've got the Formula Challenge and the Super Cup to lead us into the big show, the Super League. at Malaysia. It's one thing that I'm heavily looking forward to.
Well, thank you very much to Tom, David and Lewis for coming in and talking with us today. I think that just about lets us round up this evening of entertainment. Any last words of wisdom before we sign off, Mr. McGlade?
I'm wondering about that CSG. It's just, you've come into the first round of the season. You've looked so very impressive with as a new team to push that right up to the top. How long is that going to hold up? How long until midnight and all that catch up? Obviously, you saw Giuseppe there on the back of David. Is that going to be something that Giuseppe's going to go, right? That's it. I'm gonna look at that and I'm going to move myself forward the next round. Is Giuseppe going to get a consistent teammate? Who's that going to be at midnight? Who's going to be the what would I suppose be number one driver? Really, considering it's in the zero car. It's a lot of stories that need to be told over the next 2 weeks, and I'm sure you'll be back to tell them.
Certainly will, and been a pleasure having you with us, Lewis, for today. So thank you very much for joining, and as ever, thank you very much to Simon Malouche, who is on Cameraman's Extraordinaire, playing around with the swing cameras I hear today. So I'm sure I'll be enjoying that one. You can join us in 2 weeks' time. We will have the Formula Challenged on the Tuesday, where myself will be trying to not be lapped on both of the races this time around, and probably to have front wings in both races too. That would be a bonus. Then you can see Lewis out on track on the Wednesday for Super Cup. Obviously, it's not just tuning in for us. There are other people there too. But please do come back on the Thursday for the Malaysian Grand Prix. Expect the weather to be topsy-turvy, expect the temperatures to be high, expect the action to be pumping so hard that we'll have to call it dubstep. Cheers everyone, you lot will take care, and we'll see you again for GPVWC.